Hey there! In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the E major and E minor shape bar chords. Now, I should say, if this is your first time playing a bar chord, I do want to warn you, or maybe I shouldn't use the word warn, but I do want to let you know that most guitarists, probably every guitarist that I've ever talked to, when they first start playing bar chords, always have a hard time with it. It makes you want to throw your guitar across the room, makes you want to give up. But let me encourage you by saying, I haven't really met any guitarists who've practiced it and tried it who haven't been able to get it. No matter how short or long their fingers are, the type of guitar they have, the experience, natural ability, all of that stuff, they've always been able to get it by just putting time into it. And it does take time for your hand to kind of build up strength to be able to play bar chords. So just know this, it will be difficult at first, but give it time and you will be able to play bar chords. And it is something that's going to be really important in your guitar playing, to be able to play bar chords. Although you may not use them all the time depending on the songs that you're playing, but they are really, really, really important to know and to work on. So, all right, so let's just take a look at the fretting hand. Now here's what we're going to do. All right, we're going to start by playing the open E major chord. The reason why we want to do that is because in order to play the E shape bar chord, we have to start by playing the shape of the chord, which you probably know by now. You've probably been playing the E chord for a while now. But now, instead of using our first three fingers, we're going to use the next three. So we're going to place our second finger, third finger, and fourth fingers on the E shape. Instead of using our first, second, and third, now we're using our second, third, and fourth. And that will free up our first finger, our index finger, to play the bar. So right now when we're playing the open E major chord, we're not using our first finger because we don't have to bar anything. This nut sort of acts as the bar. So what we're doing is when we play bar chords, we're actually, in essence, moving this nut along the fretboard by just using our first finger, our index finger. All right, so what I want you to do is place your first finger across the strings, all 6 strings, on the 3rd fret. I want to start with the G bar chord, just because it's a little bit easier to play than playing the F bar chord. The strings are a little bit harder to press down when you're further back like this. So we're going to go to the 3rd fret. Now this is going to be the G bar chord using the E shape. So we're using this E shape, but we're playing a G bar chord. So this G bar chord would be the same notes as somebody playing the G chord. All right, so let's look at how we play a bar chord now. All right, we've got the shape down. Now what we want to do is we want to place our first finger across the 6 strings, and we want to make sure that our wrist is in a pretty good position. You don't want your hand all the way out like that, or else you're just gonna feel lots of tension here. It's gonna start to hurt. You don't want that. So I've got my thumb on the back of the neck, just to kind of make sure that I get enough room, enough motion with my hand to be able to play and be able to put enough pressure down. Now with our first finger, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're not necessarily using the flat part of our finger, the fleshy part, just because it's going to be a lot harder to press down and get the notes sounding clear when we use this part of our finger. So we're actually going to turn our finger about 45 degrees, and we're going to use this part of the finger. It's more the bony part that we want to use. All right, so let's say we're placing our finger on the fret. Instead of placing it flat like that, we're going to turn about 45 degrees so we can really get some good pressure so that we can hear the notes that are being played. Okay, so our first finger is angled about 45 degrees, and then Our other fingers, we don't really want to angle them the way that this finger, the only reason why we're angling that is just so that we get enough pressure against the strings. And then our other fingers, again, we don't want to angle them, we just want to place them straight on. Now here's what we're going to want to do. We want to strum the chord first, and then pick each string individually just to make sure that we can hear everything. So what we're actually doing here in essence is, even though our finger is across all 6 strings, we're really only playing the top or the low E string as well as the high E and the B strings. So these are the ones that the bar will be playing. The low E, the B, and the high E. So you want to try to make sure those are nice and clear. It does take some time to get your hands strong enough to be able to do that. And then you'll place the rest of your fingers in that E shape. If you're getting some kind of buzzing sound, and that usually does happen at first, you just try to find out where that's happening. If you're getting this, press down a little harder. All right, so using that same shape, if you remember the shape, our open E, you'll know the E minor, open E minor, is just lifting your first finger. So you're going to take that same thing. In order to play the E minor shape bar chord, we're still going to stay on the G, but now it's going to be a G minor. So instead of a G major, it's going to be a G minor. Now what you can try to do is, it's not recommended to do this all the time, but you can actually, your second finger's not really doing anything, so you can sometimes rest it against your first finger just to kind of help push the strings down. It's not always recommended because you do want to use that second finger, have it available for, you know, on the next chord, or but you can do that, especially you know, at the beginning. Just use that second finger just to add a little more pressure. All right, so the E major, and then the minor is just by lifting that second finger. Now we've got the minor shape. All right, one thing that's going to be really important for us to know is the names of the notes on the low E string. And the reason why that's important is because the low E string in this chord shape actually tells us what the chord is. It's the root note of the chord. So for instance, when we're playing the open E chord, this string here, the low E string, is playing the E note. We're playing the E chord here. So that means whenever we change or move this, we're playing whatever this note becomes. So right now this is the E chord, and we're playing the E note. And then if we move it up 1 fret, now we're playing an F note, which means we're playing an F major chord. Now an F sharp major chord, because this is moved up. And then we're going to move it up 1 more fret. And that's how we got to that G that we were using. So it's going to be really important for you to know, because once you know that, it really unlocks the fretboard for you. That means you can play an A flat chord, or a B chord, or a D sharp chord. You know, as long as you know the root note, you can move it anywhere. Use that same shape, that E shape, move it anywhere on the neck, and you'll be playing that chord, that particular chord. So that's really important to know. All right, so hopefully this has helped you a bit. Again, it is challenging playing these bar chords, but just give it some time. It does take time for your hand to kind of build up that strength, but it will happen, and you will enjoy playing these bar chords eventually. They're going to be a great addition to your playing. It'll complement a lot of what you're doing, and it'll open up some new opportunities to play different songs that use bar chords. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon for another lesson.